This is SimNews.TV, and you're listening to the Super League show. Hello, everybody. Jake Sanson here. It's going to be an amazing show, this one. Are you still breathless? I am, after the first round of the GPVWC 2018 Championship season opener at the Albert Park circuit in Australia. My goodness, what a barnstormer of a finish. We are going to analyse the snot out of it here tonight. We've got Ben Willis and Kacper joining me in the room once again. Boys, welcome.
Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone.
Wow. And as you can see, we are not only in sound, but we are also in vision.
Well, two-thirds of us.
2 out of 3 of us are. It's fine. 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
I'll try harder for next time.
Yes, that's fine. We'll get it sorted. But anyway, now you can see my ugly mug and put the face to the voice that winds you up every Thursday. So now we have got an amazing talk through. It's the first round of the championship, and already we had a couple of stand-ins for our main championship. No Fran Lopez, Kacper. We had Yuri Kazdop doing a fantastic super sub job instead.
Oh, that was an absolute incredible job. It kind of nearly reminds me of what Maciej Młynek did in his super sub at the beginning of last season. But I'll be honest, I'd be excited to see Yuri Kazdop coming back in any race later on in the season, because if this is the way that he's going to be showing us what he's capable of, I think he is a worthy driver of a seat in the Super League. If he can just keep this kind of pace up, if he can do another race like this in future, I think that this is something incredible that could be in the brewing.
And we also had De Vries come back, this time the Sven variety, the American driver, to fill in at Eval for Argo Tida. So Argo has yet to make his Super League debut. He'll do so next time out in China. And of course, this was a really important race, Ben, not just because it's the start of a new season, but of course, being round 1, equal cars, 0 development, game on.
Exactly, yeah. It was a bit of a weird one, the first race of the season for us. Obviously, no development, so you always get a few surprises, and we certainly saw that. But I guess the thing we have to read into this is that it's not necessarily going to be the trend for the season. We've got, a lot of things are going to change. We shouldn't expect some of the new teams to be as high up as maybe they were in this race. But it certainly is. It's always a bit of a fun race to see where everybody is in terms of pace, because that's what we're comparing here. It's pure driver talent at the end of the day, which makes it obviously very interesting for us.
And one of the great things about that first race is it gave us an indication of the 2018 tyres for this season. And Kacper, it is a different story compared to last year. It's night and day. These tyres are proper race tyres. They are competitive, they're biting, they're grippy. We're going to get some really exciting strategies from this year.
Yes, I was such a critic of the tyres last season. And I think...
Who wasn't?
No, absolutely.
Who wasn't a critic last
year? That's very true. And honestly, once... I've seen that people were already trying to say harder compounds like ACR and Evolution, actually using hards in the actual lineup, and some of them actually using them in the race itself, as we'll get on to later. But I think that the new tires are so much better, and in my opinion, and we'll probably get into more detail, I think it's a lot better for this series, to be perfectly honest. But yes, we've had we still had teams going for the 3 softest compounds, but I think we've had 4 different strategies for tire choice.
Yeah, 4 different strategies. Majority went on ultra, supers, soft tires. Eval did ultra, super, medium. ACR Evolution did ultras, medium, and hard, as you mentioned, and then flag to flag on ultras, soft and medium. So 4 different strategies.
It was a really interesting way of going about it, and obviously different teams had different interpretations with varying different results. So let's go straight into qualifying. There was an amazing battle for pole position in the end, with Alex Siebel getting his first pole position in the first race for the ACR Zach Speed team. A really good start for them. Jarl Tyen in second position, Risto a close third. Very, very exciting qualifying session, and hopefully, Kacper, the shape of many things to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Having drivers being so close to each other, and it was absolutely exciting seeing those drivers at the very end, after the time has already elapsed. Just 1 lap from Tyen, and just right on a couple seconds later, essentially, Siebel just putting another few hundredths of a second onto that time. And it was so close, but to be honest, it may not. Maybe even that most drivers pushed a little too hard, as we may get into near the end in terms of what happened after.
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting to see the kind of drivers that didn't really make the top 10 against those who did. But a really interesting battle. Duval was particularly impressive, I thought, in qualifying. Ben in the top 4, but the top 17 within a second. I mean, we really knew that this was going to be an exciting one from the off.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it was a really good session. Really great to see Liam Duval up there, actually, because seeing him towards the end of last season, I was a bit, not too, I don't know, excited, I guess, by his pace. It was all right. He did what he needed to do to score points, but it was nothing too special. And then the first race, he comes in P4. That seems to have come out of nowhere. It's absolutely brilliant pace. Dennis Jordan P5 as well for Evolution as a new team is really good. Tom Parker in P7. Evolution had a really great qualifying there. And as you said, Norton were a bit lacking. I feel P11 and P16. We know they're not necessarily a one-lap pace kind of team. They've always tended to have really good race pace. So to see him a bit lower is not too surprising. But obviously that hinders you a bit into a race with so many cars now. It's a bit of a compromise.
So looking at the top 10, our first one of the 2018 season, we had Alex Siebel from Jarl Tyne, 33 thousandths of a second between them. That's how close it eventually was. Risto Capet and Liam Duval, Dennis Jordan and Ricardo Costa from Tom Parker, Riot Kilk, the super sub Yuri Kasdorp, and Jeff Fournier in the top 10. No Nordsians in the top 10. David Fidek only 11th, Alex Cooper only 16th. And of course, we had the very dramatic one from Flo Gaia, having eventually to start the race from the back. But in qualifying, it's fair to say we had quite a few drivers who will now have to find themselves starting from the back of the grid. You got your notepads out? Here is my list of drivers who had basically exceeded the track limits with all 4 wheels at some point during qualifying, and that gives them a back of the grid penalty for the next event, which is China. Are you ready? Ricardo Costa, Jeffrey Fournier, Peter Burlak, Jarl Tyne, Alex Cooper, David Fidek, Dennis Jordan, Tom Parker, Riot Kilk, Michael Ayres, Pedro Gomez, Liam Duval, Adam Taylor, Thomas Hinz, and Alex Siebel. Have I missed anybody? I think that's pretty much all of them, isn't it? That is a full house. That's pretty much half the grid, including Alex Siebel, our pole position sitter. So again, obviously, we know that this is a part of GPVWC that's always quite controversial, Kacper. They obviously have to take the rules into consideration, but it just shows, how tough it is to get it right because so many people got it wrong.
Absolutely, and we didn't even know that Alex Siebel is going to have a back of the grid penalty until I think today or thereabouts. But the thing is, apparently Alex Siebel got it wrong by so very little that it was the closest that that the DC had to give a penalty, like the closest to being on track that they have to ever had to give a penalty for. It was just literally millimeters away from being on the track. It was minuscule. But that also shows you that you need to keep on track because the DC will catch you if you are even a millimeter off the track. And it shows you how much these guys were pushing the cars. If that is how many drivers were off track at some point. And it's usually on the exits of corners I find that drivers actually make that mistake.
Well, that's the pre-race banter. Now we're going to have to spend about 7 years talking about the post-race because there was so much that happened during that one. I mean, initially off the start, the 2 ACR Zack Speed cars managed to get out of way in front of the field with Alex Siebel in front of Risto Capet. A really interesting start, and we thought it was going to be business as usual. Bit of a sluggish one from Jarl Tyne, falling back through the field a little bit. And then we had that incident at turn 2 on the first lap. Lots of drivers involved. Thomas Hinz, Menno Clant, a few others as well. But the one who unfortunately has been given the slap on the wrist by race officials, Ben, has been Florian Gaia. That is a real surprise.
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise actually. But if you look back at it again, you can sort of understand where the DC are coming from. Florian Gaia does make a bit of a move across, a couple of cars as they came off the starting grid actually into turn 1, and that sort of kicks off the first phase of crashes. And it's one of those hard things when you're starting a race, everybody's so close, even the tiniest of miscalculations, it's going to cause a big crash. That is motor racing at the end of the day. So I don't think Gaia's should be framed as a criminal for this one. It was more just a misjudgment. It's just unlucky, unfortunately. But that's worthy of a penalty in the DC's eyes, and so he's got to live with that for next race. He's got a 5-place grid penalty. And then, yeah, there was a little bit more of a crash into turn 2. Unfortunately, a few other cars coming together. So it's a bit of a messy start. But then equally, this is the first race back after a season. And you're always going to get that. You're going to get people a bit wooden on their racing skills, trying to get back into close wheel racing and getting used to that first lap chaos. We saw it across all 3 divisions across the week. So hopefully that's something we'll see improve towards the rest of the season.
So a difficult start then, but an interesting one from Liam Duval. That 1 lap pace that he showed in qualifying was no fluke. He was able to run very well with Jarl Tyen in the early stages, which was fantastic to observe. The first big drama from Tom Parker, a shame as he returned to full-time competition for the first time this year, and on lap 6 ending up rolling in the final turn due to lag, apparently. It does happen in the early stages of a season. The big one, though, the absolute heartbreak, was, of course, Kacper, for Alex Siebel, leading, doing an absolutely fantastic job in a very high intense position. Alex Cooper, screen froze, got lagged into, and then ended up tagging Siebel. Siebel out of the race. What a disaster, and such a shame after such a great, strong run.
Oh, that was an absolute disaster. And Siebel was running away. I think he was already about 4 seconds ahead of Capet at that point. And was doing an absolutely stellar job. And I honestly feel like he would have fought and possibly gone for the win in that race, if not for, well, this issue that seems to be kind of semi-related to the computer of Alex Cooper, because he's been having those issues on that track specifically. But then it also is this Rfactor 2 issue, which has been prominent in some other series as well, with the screen freezes. So I'm not entirely sure what's the root cause, but maybe if somebody is experiencing that, I'd nearly say that Alex Cooper maybe should have retired the car earlier if he's seen that this is a possibility. However, it is an absolute heartbreak for Siebel, who has been on course for very much possibly winning that race.
Yeah, it's a very sad case of affairs. Not much you can do about it now in retrospect. Fairly good run from Hawkeye, though, to look at the positives. Yuri Kazdorp and Ricardo Costa did a very good start right from the out and were very, very strong in the early stages of proceedings. Then we had the pit stop window. We were looking to try and get the estimated times for it. It was about lap 10, lap 11 when things really started to flow. We got some different strategies starting to make up on that particular part. And just as the pit stop started to filter out, we then had the titanic grudge match in the midfield, Ben, with Strana, Kilk, and Fidek. That was a really interesting squabble.
Yeah, it was a really good close fight, actually. And it was a bit of a shame in the end that Right Kilk came off with a bit of damage. I think he had a bit of contact with Strana, trying to get past into the final sector, into the third to last corner, I think it was. They had a little bit of a touch. And whether that gave Kilk any damage or not too sure, but he did dive straight into the pit straight after. So there was a little bit of a shame there, but otherwise it was really good close racing, and that's something we sort of saw across everybody in this field. Actually, is I don't know if it's a product of the new car in terms of following others, but there was a really good close racing. People were able to sit behind each other a lot more than sort of towards the start of the last few seasons. There's been a lot of complaints over dirty air. Obviously that's great for us as spectators. We're seeing really good, exciting, close racing. It was really entertaining.
So then came the strategy call that basically decided the race, and so could easily have gone either way. With Alex Siebel out of the race, we still had Risto Capet out there on his own, and he decided to stick to his gamble, a one-stop race, switching to the hard tyres. He was the only man in the race to do so. Kacper, you've got to ask the question here. Did that cost him the win? Should he have made the switch to 2 stops? Do you think if he'd made that switch, could he have won the race?
I think if he made that switch early enough, I think he would have definitely been on course to at least challenge it as well. But to be honest, now the question is did he have a chance also to win without it? Or was it basically a lost battle? We may get into that a bit later as we'll talk about what happened near the end of the race. But now, I think personally, if he put it in about lap maybe 40 for a set of super softs, I don't think he even had super softs. I think he only had
ultras.
Ultras, yeah.
Yeah, so even putting ultras on with about 10 laps to go, I think that would have been a possibility for him to win it, considering he had all the drivers behind him. But now the question is, because he has been losing so much time near the end, especially if we compare his times to Jeffrey Fournier, who was driving on super soft tires and I think was 3 seconds a lap quicker.
3 seconds a lap, yeah.
So honestly, yes, I think a one-stop strategy was a mistake, but I think he made it work as well as one could.
So then came the big one, that amazing four-way battle between 4 drivers from different teams: Jarl Tyen, Risto Capet, Liam Duval, and the sneaky one approaching from the back of the queue, Jeff Fournier. An amazing battle, but then just as Jarl Tyen decided to go for his move onto Risto Capet, he made the crucial point of contact. It's a difficult one, Ben. Can we assess that incident and say that Jarl Tyen shouldn't have gone for the move? Did Risto have plenty of reason to turn in? You know, was that a 50-50, or do we think that Jarl Tyen's penalty that Race Direction have now given him is fair?
I think the penalty is fair because it was a bit of a half-hearted lunge to try and get past Risto, and Risto had every right to come across and shut the door because Tyen wasn't really alongside until sort of the point where they both finished braking. At that point, it's basically a dive bomb, and he spun him round. However, I don't blame Tyen for going for that move because they've been in this 4-car train for a good 10-20 laps now. You're going to be getting impatient. You're realising you're getting almost to the end of the race, and Tyen obviously wants to win. That's what any driver wants to do. He needed to make the move. He tried it. I think it was a bit of a rushed move and not, it could have been executed a lot better. And unfortunately, it has involved a tangle, and it's cost Capet a podium, really. Obviously, posthumously, he gets that back through, Tyen getting a penalty. But it's just one of those unfortunate things. It was a thing that Tyen was doing for a lot of the race, actually. He had also a bit of a run with Fournier. I can't quite remember when in the race, but they did have a bit of contact. And it was that same idea of Tyen just making a bit of a silly lunge. And it is something we have seen over sort of the second half of last season. Tyen making those sort of half-hearted lunges or very bold late moves that spook the driver in front. He's not ready for it. There's going to be contact. It just ends a bit messy. So yeah, I can see why he's got the penalty. I don't blame him for going for the move, but it's something he does need to look at.
So as a result of that, we are then left with a storm. Yes, that is a storm leading the race from an epic Racing Martex. I mean, that you just could not have predicted that going into this race. Those 2 drivers, Liam Duval of Holland and the Frenchman Jeff Fournier, fighting for the victory. Either one of them gets the win. It's their first win in Super League. So it was an absolutely fantastic battle between the 2 of them. But Jeff Fournier, penultimate lap, saw his opportunity, Kacper. That's a drive with pure conviction, a totally deserved, magnificent maneuver, and going on to take his and the team's first win in their first race. An incredible result.
Oh, that was an absolutely epic fight they had.
Literally
epic.
Yes.
Yeah, literally epic.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Yes, it was an epic fight between himself and Duval. To be honest, if you want to see some epic battles, please rewatch that final couple laps because that was some amazing fighting. But no, I think it was great to see him, and his pace late race was something to behold. It was absolutely fantastic. I think I know David Fiduk was having a bit of a faster pace, I think, but that was only because I think he was on a newer tire.
Yeah.
But Jeffrey Fournier just absolutely crushing the times up front. And it ended up in a couple magnificent battles. And to be honest, Duval also doing a fantastic job because he did overtake Capet just before that incident with Tyen. So both of them doing an incredible job this race.
And elsewhere, you mentioned David Fiduk. He just managed to creep into the battle in the last couple of laps. He could easily have ended up on the podium had the race been 1 or 2 laps longer. But yes, Jeff Fournier taking a fantastic victory, easily one of the most sensational results in GPVWC Superleague's entire history, and a very popular win indeed for Jeff Fournier. Liam Duval, a magnificent second place. Risto Capet promoted to 3rd with Jarl Tyen's penalty. David Fiduk in 4th place, valiant drive from him. The Macedonian, Yajovski. We haven't even mentioned him yet in the Adonis Talos. He was absolutely brilliant, magnificent. The first of the Talos engine cars home, beat both of the Hawkeyes, which was a fantastic achievement. The youngster, he's done a great job. Pedro Gomez, the Portuguese driver, I think that's his highest ever finish in Super League for Red Archer. Great job from him in P6. Then the two Hawkeyes of Yuri Kazdop and Ricardo Costa. Dennis Jordan in 9th place and docked down to 10th, rounding out the top 10. Now the Norwegian Jarl Tyne. Still, that elusive first victory is just not quite there, but maybe in China he'll get it at last. Michael Ayres, Boar Milan, Wright Kilk, Edek Strana, and the Welshman Ben Horrell rounding out the top 15. So points for Red Bull, Stormfighter, Street Fighter even, sorry, in their first race. I'm still going to get those two confused. I'm still going to do it, still doing it. But yeah, an absolutely fantastic first race, and with so much going on, it's been absolutely incredible to watch. Points for 4 of the 5 new teams. That's an amazing statistic to point out as well, including for Flag to Flag. Well done to them. A lot of people doubted them coming into the first round of the championship, including us. I think it's fair to say we did doubt them. Straight away, they bounced straight in with points. Well done to them, shutting everybody up and doing an absolutely great job. Hopefully there's a lot of points for them on the way. Mezuric was the only one of the new teams not to get points, but only just missing out as well. It was definitely not because they weren't good enough to score points. It's just such a close weekend, such a close race. And a great performance from Epic, of course, with Borja Milan in 12th place. And their man, Jeff Fournier, winning on their debut. Such an amazing race. So many different strategies. An amazing variety of battles and action on the track. It was just the perfect Australian Grand Prix. And I warrant that Liberty Media can't quite come up with the same quality in a couple of weeks' time. So with a few qualifying penalties that we've already mentioned, there are going to be a few more race penalties expected. The big one is, of course, Jarl Tyne. There's been a lot of discussion post-race about who should and who shouldn't be given penalties. It is obviously going to be gone into in a lot of detail, Ben. Race Direction is working so hard to make sure everything's ready in time for China, but it just shows, you know, the tensions and the emotions are running high because people have got GPVWC Super League fever again.
Exactly, yeah. And we always sort of expect it to be close cut when it comes to penalties and things like that. Everybody wants that little edge, that extra point, because they all add up at the end of the day. I think most of the penalties now have sorted themselves out. There was a lot of people reporting each other for cutting and things like that, which is a bit. It's not necessarily in the racing spirit of things, I think is fair to say, but you can understand why they're doing it when the competition is so close.
Yeah, I see the point of questioning it, but I was a little. I'm from my own point of view, I was quite disheartened actually to read some of the stuff that's been discussed through the Discord or through the forums or whatever post-race, because at the end of the day, I think in those situations, I can understand a few drivers' frustrations. The Jarl Tyne penalty, I think, is pretty much the only one that I felt was actually warranted further scrutiny investigation following that race. I am a little bit nervous that there are going to be more penalties because you have to step back and look at that race for what it was. That was, without a single doubt, you know, I've been commentating for 6 years professionally in motor racing. That was, without a doubt, one of the finest races I have ever witnessed. And I didn't even have to leave my study to watch it. It was absolutely spectacular. And I think people need to look at that and sort of leave that race as it is. There are 17 races still to go. For all of those people who were in with a chance of winning, they will have 17 more chances to be in with the fight. I mean, I know it's not as obvious as that, Ben, but true. Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to have played by the rules. And if everybody has, then it'll be fine. If people have cut and they've broken the rules, then they're going to get a penalty. Unfortunately, that's how it's got to operate in the interests of fairness and fair racing. And especially when we have to consider this season as well. This is the first ever Super League season where there is a monetary prize on this at the end. So in terms of competition, in terms of everybody trying to get that little extra edge, that extra point, because they're all going to add up at the end.
Yeah,
we're going to have a lot of this. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of this, but hopefully, and from what I'm seeing, is the majority of the penalties have been gone through. There's a lot of warnings that have been given out, but not necessarily a time penalty, which is, you know, whether it should be a warning or not is another question, but that obviously doesn't affect the result too much, and we can move on from that. Obviously, time's one we've discussed, but I think, you know, that's a fair penalty at the end of the day, and, you know, that's done what it needed to do. We've seen some of the cutting penalties come through, and the majorities have been warnings, or, you know, the odd 1 or 2 second penalty that's not necessarily going to have an effect. So hopefully, that's the majority of it. the results are still unofficial. Whether we'll see any more come through, we'll see. But hopefully it doesn't spoil the result too much. And obviously we end up in China with an already pretty mixed up grid with all the back of the grids we have. And hopefully not any more than that, really.
Yeah, I think I need to take a step back from the chat if anything develops. Otherwise, I'm going to go all like in 2008 all over again, and that's just going to be a war zone if I start getting in. Anyway, you mentioned China, so I think we are at the point where we finalise, we conclude Australia and move on to China. So I'm going to ask the big questions. Kacper, I'll start with you. Best driver of the day. I have a feeling I know where you're going to go with this one.
I think there isn't really too much choice there, is there? I see two drivers which could possibly go have it, and I think it's the same with Ben. But personally, I think it's quite clearly for the best driver, it's Jeffrey Fournier. Just the absolutely incredible pace on his the sixth race he's ever raced in Superleague. Yeah. And in the first race of this car, and having such a great pace, such a great awareness, and being a very let's be honest, it was a very, very clean race from Jeffrey Fournier, and even in the battles I found that he was very smart about it. So I definitely do think that his performance was the best as a driver. So that's the best for me anyway.
Ben, any thoughts?
I mean, obviously Jeffrey Fournier with some of the bad luck he had in Super Cup last season is obviously a very honourable mention, and he did extremely well. And obviously the other driver even that I think Kacper was alluding to was Liam Duval. So naturally I think I should pick him. He did, again, amazingly well, completely shocked me when he turned up P4 in qualifying and then to go P2 in the race, holding his own against the likes of Kacper and Tyen. He wasn't phased by it. He did some really good defensive driving, great pace as well, a great two-stop strategy. Fournier won it on 3 stops, so maybe that's slightly fresher tyre at the end that did just give him the edge, but otherwise it was a great race, and Duval did almost win. It was just 2 laps from the end that almost just went away from him.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's a really difficult one because part of me wants to give it to Liam Duval because he was just so out of our expectation of him. Being top 4, running so well at the front, soaking up all the pressure twice, 3 times, 4 times in the race. So much from Liam Duval. I so want to give it to him, but I cannot negate the fact that 6 places behind him on the starting grid was Jeff Fournier from the 5th row of the grid. First ever race in that car in Super League. Their first race out of Super Cup. They'd come straight in, and Jeff Fournier pulled that move on Liam Duval on the penultimate lap. I mean, everything about it just screams magnificence. I want there to be a draw, but we all hate draws. They're like kissing. They're like kissing your sister on the cheek. We don't want to do it, but I just want to give it. We need to give it to one person, and that's got to be Jeff Fournier. Fournier has just done an absolutely amazing job. I know, though, that with that kind of motivation, Liam Duval is going to get straight back on it. In Shanghai, we could even see him win. So it's going to be an absolutely amazing run.
As long as Storm give him a good car, then yeah, I think
absolutely.
As long as Zevo doesn't run away with that.
That's true. This is very true, because we could well have been talking about Alex Zevo just running away and dominating. That is true. Yeah. How could he have finished if he had not been lagged into by Cooper? That's a very good point. Okay, let's talk about the worst driver of the race. Again, for me, this is a fairly obvious choice. But Ben, I'm going to ask you straight. What do you think?
I generally don't know, actually. There's a few you can pick. I guess Menno Klont giving his teammates P2 to DNF on lap 46 and finish P21 and not really have that pace. That's just one you can look at.
Still new to Super League. Maybe you can give it.
That's the trade-off there. Peterborough at P17. I know he had a few troubles through the race. He wasn't quite there to where I'd expect him from the tests. Obviously, Alex Cooper wasn't exactly worse, but having those technical troubles that's ended up affecting the leader. It's a hard one. And then obviously Guy's start line issue as well. I don't want to say he's the worst, but I have to look at Guy and that start line crash that's caused quite a lot and say, okay, yes, it's race 1, yes, it's a really close grid, but for someone as experienced as Gaia, maybe it could have had a little more looking into. But it's
That's
a tough one.
That's kind of what I was thinking, because I kind of saw Flo Gaia coming into this season as a championship favourite. Never mind that he switched teams. No, that's Flo Gaia.
Yeah.
That's Flo Gaia. So it's a bit like Vettel switching teams. You cannot count him out for a world championship assault. He just has that ability. So it's difficult, because I kind of wanted to see Flo Gaia at least competing for the top 6. He didn't get a good qualifying lap in. So had he done that,
maybe that would have moved him out the danger zone as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a difficult one, because you get thrown out of your depth into a different position to what you're used to being, and it's either sink or swim. And maybe he just reacted through inexperience of being in that position, just not quite as easygoing about it as possible. So it's a difficult one. Kacper, do you have any thoughts on this?
I'll be honest, I was going to go for the exact same draw as you were. Again, his performance in the qualifying, in race, and the incident, as you said already, I don't think there's anybody else that stands out to me other than Florian.
It is tough, because we don't want to put somebody down who's just switched to a new team and they're still finding their feet. It is difficult, but you can't really look at anybody other than Flo Gaia in the circumstances available. I have a feeling that when we get to Shanghai, he's going to be straight back in the top 3 in qualifying. And all of that is just going to be an ancient history. But in this current context, you kind of have a feeling that, to a certain extent, Gaia let a race win get away from him there, because he could have been right up there fighting for it.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one, but I kind of have to say that. Okay, let's go for another positive. Best team. Kacper, best team of the race.
Oh,
this is so tough. This is so tough.
I know, because there are so many very strong teams, and I think, honestly, oh gosh, it's gonna go to this. I think there's only. I'm gonna go for Epic, just on the basis that they're a debutant team that finished 1st and 12th. I mean, there are so many teams that you could point out as the best team that this race. And it's just so difficult to choose, but Epic just had that, incredible win. And just, they both had a points finish. Bohr had a bit of a slower start to the race, as far as I can remember. But he managed to get back to 12th, and I think this he can only go up from there. So I honestly think that Epic is, though, team. Honestly, Hawkeye is the only one that could stand out to me, but Epic, I think, is the team of the race for me.
Yeah, it's hard to overlook that. It's just a sensational result. That's even better than Brawn GP for me. In terms of the achievement of it, it's just so much of a bigger achievement. Ben, what do you reckon?
I mean, obviously, Epic is a pretty honourable shout to have. I'm trying to think of the last time a new team won the first race season. I think it would be CSG in 2014 when they did a 1-2. When I think it was Lewis Renshaw won from David Fiduk. I think. Don't quote me on that one, but I'm leaning towards that. So obviously that's a big result for a new team to win the first Super League race. But to be different from Kacper, I'm going to pick Hawkeye for being the most consistent out of the teams to score points. I think. A P7, P8, considering they had a stand-in Yuri Kanstorp, who's done really good. It's Costa's first race in Super League as well, so it's technically a debut for both of them in Super League, actually. Yeah. So a P7, P8, considering where Hawkeye were towards the end of last season, I think that's a really good result, actually, a really good improvement. P3 in the Constructors as we leave Melbourne, I think is really good.
To be completely different again, I'm going to give a shout out for ACR's hack speed. I'm actually going to give a shout out to it, because in terms of their qualifying prep, 1st and 3rd, they were straight back on the pace. In the early stages, we had Siebel and Capet out in front. If Siebel hadn't been lagged into by Cooper, who knows where he could have finished? He could well have run away with the whole thing. And I have to say, considering that happened, full credit to the team for going with a risk. Taking a risk in the first race of the season, making a bold decision, sticking with it, and fair play to Risto and Mike for working together to try and get him home in first position. That was not an easy decision to make. And yes, it did cost them the win ultimately, but how dare we have a go at a team giving us what we want, which is a show. And, giving us something that we can get excited about. It's a risk, But this is racing. You have to take risks. You have to make those bold decisions. That was not an easy decision for the reigning champions to make when they only had one car still out there. So fair play to them. I'm going to give them kudos for that.
Yeah.
So it's one of those three teams. If you nudged it, it's probably got to go to Epic just because they won on their debut. You can't really ignore it. So the worst team out there. This is a tough one. This is a very big, a really big tough one. And I think for me, it's got to be between two teams. My own personal choices. To a certain extent, I was a little disappointed by Street Fighter Red Bull. I thought they'd be a bit stronger. Again, that's partially because of Flo Gaia. I mean, Ben Horrell did an admirable job. It's a tricky one because you kind of expected, with all this hype pre-season, you were kind of hoping that there would be some substance there with it. Maybe that's coming. I hope it is. But the other one is Nordzian, because I just wanted Nordzian to be second and fourth. I just wanted them to be knocking on the door of ACR Zack Speed right from the start. I really wanted that rivalry to bounce back in again and really kickstart this season. And we just didn't see it. I mean, Fidek fought back at the end, but I just didn't see that fire from Nordzian that I am expecting to see from them from the start.
I don't know, but we don't know where Cooper would have been had he not had those computer issues.
Yeah,
and I think
true.
We can safely count on him having top 10 pace, I think.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think he would have ended up somewhere in there. So, okay, add that in. You're looking at, what, third in the Constructors now, leaving Melbourne, roughly speaking. And Fidek's strategy towards the end really was coming to him. He was all over Kacper over the last few laps, and if he had an extra lap, I think he would have got past. He brought, from a pretty poor qualifying position to get up to fourth. It was pretty good. I wouldn't call that the worst team.
Okay, fair enough.
I can see your points for Street Fighter. Obviously, Gaia's start line issue not being the best, and then Horrell maybe petered off a bit from where he was towards the end of last season. I mean, he scored a point. Yeah, that's good. I want to see a little bit more, I guess. Would have been nice. Madcape had a bit of a quiet race, actually, thinking about it. It's starting a P14, but again, they're not where they were at the start of last season, when they really shocked us with Lee Morris. So, I'd like to see a bit more from Madcape, personally.
Yeah. Is this going to be a continuation, perhaps, Kacper, of what we saw from Madcape last year? I hope it isn't, because I thought with Strana and Olsen, that's a rejuvenation squad, potentially. I mean, is it harsh to start talking about them as the weakest team from Australia this early?
Well, Strana has shown some really good fighting spirit anyway during the race, and I'm not entirely sure what happened there, to be perfectly honest, with him not being even higher. It just I didn't start. But honestly, yeah, I hope they do better. But I don't think they're necessarily my worst team. It's hard, to be honest. It's hard to choose out a worst team in this.
Yeah, it is.
But I honestly think that I will go for Street Fighter, just on the basis that you expect more out of them, with Ben Horrell doing so well at the end of last season, and of course Florian Geyer being we know he's such a fast driver. So I think, honestly, I feel bad for also giving Florian Geyer the two negative awards in a way. So honestly, but I think Street Fighter just needs to get it together for China.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because we're so reluctant to give a negative when the race itself was so spectacular and so ridiculously close from the front to the back. It's so difficult to pick a negative in any sense, from driving standards to teamwork to everybody. I mean, I'm hoping we get 17 more like this, because this part of it is actually going to be the hardest part of every show we do.
Totally agree.
We actually have to be objective about, so many incredible drivers and teams. It's going to be so hard to say who was the worst when you can't really pick a worst without really getting into the nitty-gritty of really, really silly little things. I mean, that's how great quality of this championship is going to be. So that is Australia wrapped up. We've got China next. What does that mean? Well, it means we'll have some upgrades for the first time. We'll see which teams are developing faster than others. Tyres are going to continue to develop. And of course, it's China. Therefore, there is always that ominous threat of rain. Who Who can forget last year's epic battle where Gergo Baldi managed to pull a fast one away from Rudy Van Buren? Both of those are not going to be on the starting grid this time. So it's time to hit the reset button again. Can Jeff Fournier make it 2 out of 2? Or is there going to be a completely different winner? What do you guys think? It's going to be a tough one. Pick a winner for next time. Pick a winner for next time. Come on, let's do it.
I can see Siebel bouncing back. I think if he hadn't have got lagged into, I think he could have walked away with that. If and only if he didn't follow Capit's strategy of one stopping. But I think in that position of leading, I think he would have gone for a 2-stop. Or personally, if I was him, I would have gone for ultra soft, medium, medium, and made the 2-stop work. And in that sense, he had the pace quite clearly. I think he would have walked away with it. So yeah, I think as long as ACR have brought the correct upgrades, which is another whole different area this year. There's not a clear-cut upgrade path like last year. It was very much upgrade your front wing downforce. That's going to give you the most bang for your buck. This year, it's so much closer. There's no clear path. So I think we're going to see a lot of teams going a completely different way on upgrades, which could completely throw everything off. I've spoken to Mike, and he doesn't think ACR's gone the correct direction. He's not sure. You know, there's so many teams out there. I'm not sure whether they've gone the right way. So China almost becomes another Melbourne in that we don't know where the pace of each car is going to be and what they've done.
Exciting. So we think potentially, well, Ben has an inkling that maybe if Alex Siebel has another start to the race like he had in Australia, we won't see which way he went. Kacper, what do you think?
Oh, this is a tough one, isn't it? But I'm not going to go for the easy one. I'm not going to go for Alex Siebel again.
Oh, wow.
Again! Again! Wow, okay. We're all backing Siebel.
Okay, no. I'm not going to go for Alex Siebel. I honestly feel that there are multiple drivers which here had a chance. And honestly, I am going to go for Jarl Tyen. To be perfectly honest, he has shown some good pace. So if he can get his racecraft together, I think he can challenge for the win.
Okay, that would be his first Super League win, but it has been a long time coming for Jarl Tyen. Maybe China is the time we're finally going to get to see it. It's not a bad bet on either side for Siebel or Tyen. I'm going to go completely different. I'm going for Liam Duval.
Whoa!
Yeah, I'm going for Liam Duval. He was right in there in
tough.
Australia. He has literally come in as the underdog and shown his corner to the rest of the field and says, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. I reckon China will come along and he will just have something extra special. He's got that monkey off his back now. Am I good enough? Yes, I am. I beat Risto Capit. I beat Flo Geyer. I beat all of these big guys. I nearly won on my first race of the 2018 season. He's going to want vengeance for that. And I have a feeling he might bounce back and bring us something extra to the table. The only way to find out is to watch the race itself. It, of course, takes place in a Thursday's time even. Next Thursday, it is going to be an absolutely epic encounter. Make sure you're watching on the 15th of March. That is when we're going to be live in action once again. Myself and Josh Anderson in the commentary box. Stay tuned for more info on all your favorite Sim News shows in the near future on SimNews.TV. We are back the week after the Super League encounter in Shanghai. Do, of course, follow us on Twitter at SLShowSN using the hashtag SLShow if you want to interact with us there. And, of course, you can subscribe below. A huge thank you once again for Ben and Kacper. Thank you so much again for joining me in the studio. It's been a great show.
Thank you. Thank you as always.
Pleasure as always.
And, well, 1 down, 17 to go. Jeff Fournier is riding the crest of a wave of his first ever victory in Super League, and Epic Racing have come in as complete and total rookies and won on their debut. That's impressive. I have a feeling there's 17 more impressive chapters to come. I'm Jake Sanson. You've been watching and listening to the Super League show. It's been an absolutely fantastic run. Thank you very much indeed for watching from all of us here at SimNews.TV. Thank you very much indeed, and catch you in 2 weeks' time.